My name is Berkin. First of all, I'd like to thank the Computer History Museum, thank VCF, Eric Klein, his crew, everyone who puts this on. It's an extraordinary event. We've been scrambling to pull it together. This is going to be kind of an ad hoc presentation about some of my history working for an Apple dealer in upstate New York, as well as a Apple development company I started, a publishing company to develop Mac software in the 80s. And so you're gonna hear kind of an eclectic story. I'm gonna try to mix some videos, give you a feeling for what it was like to be in the 80s, obsessed with Apple Computer. And so I brought a few things to show. So let's get into it, and then we'll take some questions, and hopefully I won't confuse you too much. So that's me in about 1985 or 6 in upstate New York, and I've stacked all the Macs up behind my head to make it look like I had a bigger office. I'm in college, and I started my Mac company in my dorm room in Potsdam, New York. Anybody know where Potsdam is, north of Syracuse? Freezing cold, college town, 4 universities in one area: Potsdam, Clarkson, St. Lawrence, and Canton ETC. So it was an academic community, but it was very close to the Canadian border. It was freezing cold, and you were kind of isolated. You had nothing else to do, really. But it was, at the time, Potsdam was the best school for computer science, and so that's one of the reasons I went there. But before that, this is my uncle, Bob Richardson. He was kind of my mentor. He started a keyboard company on the Apple II called, and the company was called Executive Peripheral Systems. This is the keyboard right here. It's actually the one that I learned to program on. It was a very, very innovative device because it was a detachable keyboard for the Apple II. And, excuse me. So what this keyboard did was it was modeled after the IBM Selectric at the time. It had great key resistance, and it gave you the impression that you were really typing on a typewriter or on your Apple II. But it had programmable PROM module keys, these function keys that you programmed with this little PROM module. And so my uncle's little company in Palo Alto, California, on San Antonio Road in 1982 came up with this little device to plug in the PROM module and assign these function keys so that you could program faster, or type faster, or be an aid for computing. And it was kind of a razor blade strategy. They sold PROM modules for different packages: Pascal, CP/M, WordStar, other things. And so only a few of these keyboards have survived since then. It was a small company. He would go to Hong Kong, made this up, and did full-page ads in Byte magazine. It was really quite an innovation. So I learned on this keyboard, and as an intern, I worked in 1983 for him. I'm from upstate New York, came out to California, worked as an intern, and instead of getting paid, I got a keyboard and some components for an Apple II, put my own Apple II together, taught myself to program. By the time I went to college, I already knew how to program. So I started a Mac company in my dorm room. It was pretty wild. So here I am in my dorm room in 1983. That's my business partner, Frank Marafino, and we just ordered 2 Lisa computers. And if you know the Lisa from 83, 84, they were $10,000 a piece. 2 of them. And you imagine an 18-year-old or 20-year-old college kid buying 2 Lisa computers. It was a big deal. But on the desk in front, you can see my Apple II with the EPS keyboard right there. I'm in our dorm room in upstate New York, and we're just starting to program for the Mac. And this kind of gets you started. Here's my business card at the time. I was an intern, product manager for Executive Peripheral Systems, printed it like Kinko's or something. And this was the literature for EPS at the time, all the PROM modules that I mentioned. We used to go to shows, the Computer Showcase Expo, and now I'm going to switch to the dealership. When I first went to college, I worked at an Apple dealer called Advanced Computer Systems, ACS Computers, and was selling Apple IIs and IBM PCs. And we used to get marketing slicks from Apple about what was happening in their marketing, with their marketing efforts. So they had a marketing campaign, and this is the actual campaign from 1983. And it shows the publications, it shows the dealer efforts. We were a dealer. There were 1,300 authorized Apple dealers in 1983. We were one of them in upstate New York. And what you don't see is a lot of television, because television was expensive. Apple had just gone public, and they were starting to grow like crazy. The Apple II was the #1 computer in education, but they were pretty much doing marketing that was print, education, business, consumer, a lot of that kind of stuff. We're right on the border of the Lisa and the Mac being introduced, and it was kind of a fascinating time because they had a smaller marketing budget in '83, and then by '84, $100 million marketing budget. And the very famous 1984 commercial was introduced at the Super Bowl in '84, which really changed the game. And so as a dealer, we knew that the Macintosh was coming. We knew it was something special. And this is the video that I watched as a dealer to really get me excited about what was coming with the Mac. Hopefully you can hear this. We need to, how do we switch?
Yeah, we designed Macintosh really because we wanted one for ourselves and we couldn't get one. And Apple turned it into a product to turn the whole world on to what we've got. I think really Mac is a big extension of who we think we are and where we think we're going. And that's why we designed the product.
And so we set out to capture the greatness of Lisa in something affordable to individuals rather than corporations.
It had to be easy to manufacture. It had to be very reliable because we didn't want our customers to ever have to worry about it failing. And it had to cost roughly 1/4 as much as anything I'd ever designed before.
Demonstrating a Macintosh is the only...
Sorry, PowerPoint is showing my slides, and I'm trying to switch to a video, and it won't cooperate. I tried to embed this earlier, but didn't work. Let's see. So how come I can't see the video screen? So get out of full. How do you do that? C8? Escape. I keep hitting escape. It's doing nothing. Thank you. This is PowerPoint. Let's see. Let me just quit. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, there we go. So now all of a sudden we see there we go. Let's see if this will do it. Goodness.
Yeah, we designed Macintosh really because we wanted one for ourselves and we couldn't get one. And Apple turned it into a product to turn the whole world on to what we've got. I think really Mac is a big extension of who we think we are and where we think we're going. And that's why we designed the product.
And so we set out to capture the greatness of Lisa in something affordable to individuals rather than corporations.
It had to be easy to manufacture. It had to be very reliable because we didn't want our customers to ever have to worry about it failing. And it had to cost roughly 1/4 as much as anything I'd ever designed before.
Demonstrating a Macintosh is the only way to do it. You got to show somebody. I can't really describe it to you in words, but if I can get you to sit in front of it and play with it, you won't let go of it.
And I think what you're going to see is that the balance of power is going to shift. The balance of power from companies running people to hopefully people running companies.
We were just trying to make something incredibly great. And I think we did.
Apple presents a revolutionary idea. Macintosh. Apple invented personal computing, and Macintosh represents a major breakthrough in computer technology. Never before has there been a computer so powerful and yet so easy to use at such an affordable price. But Macintosh is more than just another personal computer. Based on revolutionary Lisa technology, it sets a new standard. A standard that will set the pace for the entire personal computer industry. The story of Macintosh is a story of high technology. From its design to manufacturing, Apple has used the most advanced equipment and engineering principles available to produce Macintosh. At the Macintosh factory, state-of-the-art computer-aided design, robotics, auto insertion equipment, and automated guided vehicles drive manufacturing costs down while increasing quality and reliability.
The philosophy at Apple is that we have the very best quality equipment and facilities so that we can build the very best quality computers. And that's the whole philosophy here, and that's the reason for this machine. We start right here, and it's impossible for us to put a bad circuit board in a Macintosh computer.
As one of the most advanced manufacturing facilities in the country, the Macintosh factory will produce a new Macintosh every 27 seconds. But most importantly, when you put Macintosh in front of you, you'll know that you have Apple's reputation for quality service and support behind you. Macintosh is different, a new kind of computer, one that's powerful but approachable, one that establishes a new standard in the industry. Macintosh is part of Apple's purpose for being in business, to create personal computers that help you get the most out of living. A vision best summed up by Steve Jobs, chairman of Apple Computer.
I'm glad you had a chance to see Macintosh. I'm really excited about it myself. I love products. Sony Profiles and Walkman and beautiful Braun appliances and beautiful Mercedes-Benz automobile designs. Macintosh is the neatest product I've ever seen in my life. And I think that combined with Lisa 2, we've got a 32-bit family of products that is going to be able to not only increase the productivity in offices and colleges around the world, but is going to be able to make a qualitative difference in the way that we communicate with each other. And what's so exciting about Macintosh is, while Lisa pioneered this amazing technology, this amazing software technology that makes this possible, with Macintosh we've been able to take that software technology and pull it down into a price range that's going to be affordable, not just to the corporation, as Lisa is, but to the individual. And we're going to find people buying Macintoshes for their own use, or for use in a dormitory, or for use in a corner of a corporation that might never have gotten a computer before. And coupled with this radical ease of use, which Lisa technology provides, I think we're going to be able to bring these products to not just hundreds of thousands or a few million people, but tens of millions of people. And that's really what the personal computer revolution is all about.
Find out what the Macintosh is all about. Ask your authorized Apple salesperson to give you a hands-on introduction to Macintosh. Discover Macintosh and see the difference firsthand. Macintosh, the computer for the rest of us.
So I actually edited that down this morning at 5 this morning, but it was a very long video, and it was shown in the dealership, and you were seduced by Steve Jobs. The state of the manufacturing, every 27 seconds, the Hollywood team that was putting together this cool computer. So it was a really neat thing. But I had a perspective from the dealership, but also I decided to start my own Mac software company inside the dealership that I was working in upstate New York, at the same time as a student, being a student. And so there was a really tough time, but it was an incredible time. And so let me go back to this for a second. Maybe I should just continue with the videos, otherwise we'll have some issues here. So what I want to show you is my office inside the dealership in 1984-5, and you'll get a little picture. My dad came up to visit, and here it is. That's me. That's my mom sitting there. They're coming to visit. That's my brother Tom, working on an Apple II. And I'm upstairs from the dealership, and I have a map on the side showing all the places that we've already sold software. We took out one of the very first ads in Macworld magazine, and I'll show it to you later. You can see my wonderful library back there, very organized. And
Oh, yeah? Terrific.
so I'm talking about a we challenge minds. There we go.
Eastern Software Distributors in Baltimore, Maryland. They call it a regional distributor. They're not a national distributor. They distribute to a certain area of the country. And they don't have any specific software that they sell, either educational or business, they're just everything. But they're a recent one. Very good.
My mom is editing my business plan, three master's degrees, and she's correcting my English. These are all the discs.
We have package 2 right here. Each one is this $3 piece.
$3 for a disc, blank disc at the time, for each one.
Each tray holds 100 discs. These are verified. Sometimes we have to verify them to make sure there's actually something on them when they work. It's on the back sometimes,
So this is the dealership down below. It's a little dark, but you'll see what an authorized Apple dealer looks like, and you'll see the various computer systems.
Sure.
So I'm giving my mom a little tour of the dealership, and my dad is filming this, capturing it. My brother's working, playing games on one of the other computers over here. So I'm showing him all about it.
This is the Columbia, Columbia data products. BP, very affordable. The
128K. Wow. The dealership had been redone, and so this was kind of the state of the art at the time. But within a year, it goes into bankruptcy with this dealership. And so, and I'll tell you a little bit about that later. So this is what it was like to market a Mac, and you had these different setups, and you would sit with a customer and show them software. We had a repair facility right behind here. We had training, and so it was great. It was a great training for me as a salesperson, but also as a developer, because we could fix Macs, we could explain Macs, we could get the tech notes, we could do pretty much everything from one place. And so we had kind of an advantage. Apple introduced the Own a Mac program, which was $750. You could buy your own Mac. And it was really great because it was, you know, it's $24.95, $2,500 retail. And so to have one for $750 was like, wow, that's incredible. And so I bought lots of them, and I would sell them to my friends to make a little money on the side. And it was kind of a neat thing. You see some Apple II stuff in the background, and some other things. Very rare poster there. There's lots of memorabilia and stuff like that. I wish I still have. So this is our apartment where we're doing software development at the same time. You're going to see Frank Garfino working on one of the leases, and here's our little setup, and he's working on one of the programs, and I'm showing it off to my dad a little bit to kind of, you know. So what I did is I put a whole team together of students, teachers, computer scientists, and even administrators at the university to develop this software, and I'll explain a little more about it. But Frank is working on one of the programs. Frank is an incredibly gifted mathematician and computer scientist, but the program he's working on, he makes mention of it, is He's running it on the Lisa, and he's going to show you 6,700 lines of code for one program. This is an Apple Lisa 2.5. It was a 1, but converted to a 2.5, if you know the terminology. And this is what the Lisa operating system and Lisa Pascal. We developed on the Lisa and then had to pop the disk out, put it in a Mac, and test it on a Mac. It was very, very rudimentary. The tech notes were crude. Sound routines didn't work very well. In kids software, you need sound. You have to write it in assembly. Really hard work. I still have these Lisas from that day. I have a whole collection of almost every Apple computer I've owned. And let me play another quick clip here. This is what the dealership looked like out front. And in a second here, this goes on a little fast. I'll just jump ahead. This is our soft sell hot list. You've heard of the Billboard hot charts, you know, for music. Soft sell hot list was for software. Was if you made it on the charts for your software, that was a big deal. And my dad is filming down here. It says Mac Edge. We've been on the charts. I can't read it, but so many months. And we were on bestseller lists for almost 4 years. It was extraordinary to get that kind of attention from our software, which taught kids math and reading. We developed both educational software and game software. I didn't want to miss the market, and so I over-engineered it. On one 400 kilobyte disk, in education, I put 8 programs. We had to write 8 programs, test 8 programs, all in 3 months to get them released. We took out an ad in Macworld, and within a month, the phone was ringing off the hook, and we started taking orders. And then I realized, my God, we have to deliver on this. It was really something. So this is here. We take Visa and MasterCard for our apartment. You know, that was like our headquarters. And I'm wearing this T-shirt, or I have several of them, but I have one that Steve Jobs signed to me that says, "Let's go change the world." Steve Jobs, which I'll tell you about. But I'm wearing it right there. You can see the Macintosh development team. I have that in our booth in the other room. You can see the music stuff. We were big, music fans and go to rock concerts and stuff. And it was great, but it was really challenging to start a software company. Now, this is what the software actually looks like. This is Mac Edge, and this is our logo that we designed.
Software. This is our latest product. Is to be released in about a week from today. May 19th, 1985. We're going into the Finder desktop program.
We wrote our own Finder on top of the other Finder so that kids wouldn't move the icons around. They had to stay within this environment. You could open and close it, but that was about it. We also had copy protection on the disk to not copy, and that was a big choice. Do we just let anybody copy it and have it? And we'll talk about that.
Counting of objects and addition and subtraction of objects, icons they call them. Table race is a drilling of single-digit horizontal addition and multiplication problems in a table fashion. And give and take is addition and subtraction of multi-digit numbers up to 9 digits. Good times 2 is multiplication. Dividing line is division. Alphabet train is sequential numbers and letters. Identification of the missing letters, and then we have memory match, which is pairing of the different word groups, contractions, antonyms, synonyms, homophones, compound verbs. And then we have word wonder, which is location and searching for different words that fit into word searches.
So I've sped this up so you can see what some of the graphics look like, because I'm demonstrating it at 1,000,000 miles an hour here. We had to write all these routines and use a lot of educational techniques to try to teach and try to make it not just rote practice, drill and practice. but with a lot of positive reinforcement. This was a time when educational software was changing. Use a high-resolution screen, to use a mouse, to use sound. On the Apple II, you had color, but on a Mac, you had a black and white screen. So it was very, very primitive, but yet very advanced. It was like all these contrasts. Really, really something. And so you're seeing 8 different programs developed in about 3 months for the first version, Mac Edge, and then we had Mac Edge 2, and like I said, we were a worldwide bestseller. Our software is translated to Dutch and Spanish, bundled with the Mac in Holland. It was a wild ride. So the other term, gamification of software or edutainment, kind of came from this area where you could blend and experience. You wanted to keep the kids engaged, but you wanted to teach them something and not give up on the importance of the exercise. So anyway, that's a little look at the software from the time. I realize we're getting close on time here. I'm going to jump ahead to 1995, I think. This is in Cupertino.
From the heart of Silicon Valley, you're watching Cupertino's finest news program. With Pat Cianci and Greg Berkin, this is Cupertino News.
I'm Greg Berkin.
And on this edition of Cupertino News, we'll bring you the winners of the November election.
And we'll look at some fire hazards and how to prevent them during the holidays.
Keep your paper and pencil handy. We're going to bring you this week's lotto numbers.
And also this month's state book. Traditionally been recognized for its unique and innovative computer design. The Macintosh line of computers is fast approaching its 10-year anniversary on January 24th, 1994. And to mark its 10-year birthday, Apple has created a new computer that few people will recognize as a Macintosh because it's also a television. Macintosh TV is a limited release product that sports a black case and video monitor that combines video, graphics, software, and CD music. Mac TV was designed specifically with video in mind. Equipped with a video input, live video signals can be captured from any camera, VCR, video disc, tuner, or other video source. The video files known as QuickTime digital movies can then be manipulated through third-party software. The movies can be edited, played back, and shared among other Macintosh users. As any real couch potato will tell you, a TV must have conveniences, and Macintosh TV is no exception. It comes standard with a cable-ready tuner, a 14-inch Sony Trinitron picture tube, a 32 megahertz 68030 processor, 5 megs of RAM, a double-speed CD-ROM player, a mouse, keyboard, and a good old-fashioned remote control. The only things missing are the couch and the popcorn.
Okay, so I'm going to show you one last video, and then we'll go back to some slides and maybe take some questions. This is 2006. I've taken on the role of hosting Steve Wozniak at the White House. So here's a little video of that. This is my friend Steve Sechrist. I got to invite whoever I wanted to come with us, which was kind of a cool thing. We had to do background checks on Woz and others, which was a very odd thing. Here's Woz and a good friend John. We're about to enter, it's freezing cold. This is under the George W. Bush administration. My friend was the special assistant to the president and the deputy cabinet secretary, Peter Sobich. You'll see him. We're just arrived. It's freezing cold. Woz had a whole bunch of cameras with him, and they immediately took all his cameras away. And he was really bummed. We went inside, and this NASCAR event is on the south lawn. The top 10 drivers, all the cars, and 1,500 people, and all kinds of cameras. And I said, well, how come they get cameras and we don't? And they said, oh, you're right. And within 5 minutes, all the cameras came back to us. So we were able to film inside. And so Peter Sobich, who was a good friend, had been in the White House under George Bush Sr., as the youngest press aide for Marlon Fitzwater. He's 4 years in the White House. And he left, and he's working at Warner Brothers. I knew him as a Warner Brothers film guy, working at Warner. And here he is, Peter on the right. And I said to him, hey, why don't we host Woz at the White House? Well, because I knew Woz was going to be there to cut the ribbon at the Patent and Trademark Office in Alexandria. They'd built a new Patent and Trademark Office, took 10 years to build, and they invited some inventors to recognize the event, and Woz was one of those inventors. And so I coupled this tour, this event on the back of and so here are the NASCAR drivers. We got to jump in on this, which was kind of neat. Bush came out, they all spoke, they gave him a jacket, we all got in the NASCARs, we wandered around. Woz wanted to use the restroom during this, and he said, hey, can we go inside the White House and use the bathroom? I'm like, not now. And he said, no, we got to go now. And I'm like, okay. So we left this and went inside and wandered around the White House into the library and a bunch of other rooms. And there was a giant painting of Barbara Bush and all this stuff. And then we came back out and then rejoined this. Probably the saddest part of being at the White House is that a lot of the White House folks did not know who the inventor of the personal computer was. And he was there. They know who the top 10 drivers of NASCAR are. So Woz really enjoyed this. It was an incredible event, but he's a prankster. And while I was filming this, he's like poking buttons on my camera and pushing things and turning things on and off and stuff. It was really, really kind of wild. And this is one of the first times I've ever shown this video. And but it was extraordinary. I'll show you a picture later. We go to the Situation Room in the West Wing. The Situation Room, very, very big deal to be quiet, to be in there. And we're outside the door, and there's a big brass plate on it and says, be quiet, stand back, whatever. And I said, Woz, can we take your picture in front of the Situation Room? And he said, yeah. And he goes up and he turns around. I'm about to take his picture. And he turns around and he bangs on the door and he says, hey, let me in. And I'm like, oh my God, what's he doing? And so he turned around, I snapped the picture. About 30 seconds later, the door flies open and you two guys get out of the White House. They say. I'm like, oh my God, we almost got thrown out of the White House with Woz. I'm like, what is this? So it was a crazy, crazy time and crazy event. But it was a real honor to participate in this and be part of it. Really, really something. But it all came from just an idea, and I proposed it to my friend, and he set it all up. We had lunch in the White House mess. We had a tour at night. And then we went to the Patent and Trademark Office, and you'll see a little clip of that. And that's where Woz cuts the ribbon. And everybody knew who he was. He was a rock star. He signed autographs and mobs of people in lines to get to Woz. But at the White House, everybody's like, who's this guy? I mean, what a reflection of things. It's just really, really crazy. Anyway, let me jump through that a little bit. This was supposed to be cut down. Here's Woz at the ribbon cutting at the Patent and Trademark Office. And there are other inventors. This is the inventor of LASIK eye surgery. There's an IBM. I think they had 10. It was really something. And here. That's Senator Warner. I think he's since passed away. This was 2006. And they commemorated this with little cards we have in our booth. Woz was then inducted into the Inventors Hall of Fame, which was a big deal as well. So it was kind of fun to be able to participate in that. Here we are in Peter's office. This is in the Eisenhower wing, I guess.
Peter, you have to show your favorite thing on that table over there.
He's showing a movie that I helped to produce, which got a Netflix deal. And I said, "What's your favorite thing in this office?" And he says, "My movie." You know, and I'm like, wow. They would change the pictures in the White House every, I think, month. They come through, and so you'd go one time and go, you know, a month later, and the pictures would all be different. It was really something. So all of these guys are associates of mine. I got to invite whoever I wanted, but to go to lunch in the White House mess was a really, really special thing. It's a gourmet restaurant, if you will, a little cafe in the West Wing. It only seats like 13 people or 15 people or something. And it was a real big deal to get in there, especially when NASCAR was there. We had to bump like about hundreds of people out just to get Woz in there. He's explaining that Peter is number 35 in the White House as the special assistant to the president and the deputy cabinet secretary. What an incredible thing. If the others were wiped out, he would be president at that time. My God. And so Peter's a fascinating friend. He'd been in the White House 4 years, worked for Warner Brothers. He comes back to the White House, and he stayed for, I think, 3. And then he said to me, "What about getting my MBA, Greg?" I was going to Duke at the time. And I said, "Duke's a great program." So he applied for Duke, did his MBA on the weekends at Duke while he's at the White House, raising 3 kids. I'm like, you are a rock star. This is the secret phone. Woz just mentioned it. He said, "Hey, what's with the phone? Is that the encrypted phone?" And Peter says, "No, this one." And of course, Woz picks it up. "Hey, who's there? Who's there?" You know, oh my goodness.
Which distant relative of yours do you never really like?
They're talking about calling somebody up from the phone. Like,
Hold on for a second, I'm busy.
Hey, look, no Mac. What's he doing?
I'm remarking there's no Mac there. It's a PC like this. Anyway, that was the White House visit. I'll end with a few slides here. I know we're getting close on time, so I didn't get to share all the stuff I wanted to, but that's okay. All right, let me see if we can come back to this. So I'll just take you through really quickly.
Ever visit friends?
Wait, we're going to go back. This is a radio script from 1984. This is what Apple gave to the dealership to have you put on the radio. You would have this recorded or give it to an announcer. And so that's the actual radio script. I had a voiceover guy do this for me. You may recognize his voice. I just did this last week. But just to show you what it was like, here it is. And so you want to read along with his voice.
Ever visit friends who were all excited about their new personal computer? Friends who sat you down and showed you.
What? What's going on? Sorry.
How much fun it is to memorize a couple hundred pages of computer manuals. If so, then the best thing you got out of your introduction to computers was a little sleep. Somewhere between something called booting and something called a terminal error. But if you think all computers are about as interesting as a state driver's license manual, you're in for a surprise. Because the Computer History Museum is an authorized Apple dealer. And Macintosh is the first business computer for the rest of us, designed to help you concentrate on what you want to get done, not on how to get a computer to do it. But don't take our word for it. Stop by VCF and try Macintosh yourself. You'll be up and running in no time. Because once you've run one Macintosh program, you can run any one of the growing library of Macintosh software now available. So stop by and pick up a Macintosh. Just think of all the extra work you'll get done, and all the friends you won't put to sleep.
So that, anybody recognize the voice? No? Morgan Freeman? Yeah. So these are just some of the memories. That's my original ad in Macworld magazine. I designed on a Mac. It was a $1,000 ad, available now. Think educational software is a light bulb with a couple of little things growing out of it. That generated, ultimately, millions of dollars of sales, believe it or not. My marketing efforts were pretty crude, but it matured into this. I had an incredible graphic artist draw this because the interaction with kids and students was really something. People were blown away at what a Mac could do, and Steve Jobs talked about that, but I experienced it because kids learn math and reading from my software. It was really, really something. And then I was featured in this thing called the President's Catalog. It was really an extraordinary thing. Mac Connection was a distributor of Mac software. Big deal. We sold a lot of software through them, but they decided to do a multi-million-dollar promotion and feature the president of every Mac company at the time. And I got featured, which was very nice. And here is the president of Microsoft in the President's Catalog in 1986 is John Shirley. He came from Radio Shack, Tandy. Bill Gates hired John Shirley away from Tandy, Radio Shack, to run Microsoft. He was the president of Microsoft for 2 years, and he was on the board for, I think, 30 years. He's now one of the largest Ferrari collectors in the world. He comes to Pebble Beach, the Concours d'Elegance, all the time. Here he is on his boat, the Shirley Temple in Lake Washington, lives near Bill Gates. He's a good friend, and his biggest acquisition at Microsoft was buying a little program called PowerPoint, the same thing I'm having trouble with right here. He's very proud of that acquisition. And, you know, it started the PowerPointing of presentations from then on. Other people featured in the President's Catalog, this is Heidi Roizen, who started a little company called T-Maker. They had a word processor. You can see like their award up there, but they also did clip art. And I was so jealous of this company because they had hundreds of discs with just clip art selling for $50. I had a $50 educational program with 8 programs on 1 disc. And I over-engineered it, and they were selling clip art. It was like, wow. So Heidi became head of developer relations for Apple, and now she's a very, very successful VC in the Bay Area here. Here's the head of Adobe, John Warnock, featured in there, and some others. There's Charlie Jackson, head of Symantec, Gordon Eubanks. Charlie sold his company. He had Super Paint and Dark Castle, you might remember. Sold that to Aldus for millions. And here's me. That was mine, both educational and game software. And then they printed baseball cards for us. It was really a neat thing. They actually drew little cartoons, and I'm illustrated. I've been a painter, a balloon vendor, and a disc jockey. That was my thing. I'm 20 years old. I just turned 60. That was 40 years ago. So holy smokes. I was really, really into Steve Jobs, meeting him. You know, I read everything about him. This is some of our milestones, which are kind of interesting because the Mac was introduced on January 24th, 1984. We formed our company. 50,000 Macs were sold by March 29th of that year. Then we printed our business cards. We took out an ad in Macworld. We eventually hit $100,000 in sales. And the dealership that I mentioned went bankrupt, but I came back from one of the trips, and in the local paper it says, software company may buy dealership. And I was like, who said that? That's just insane. But like the reversal of fortune, it was really a fascinating time. This is the introduction of the Mac with John Scully and Jobs. And this was a very famous photo. You've seen him posing with the Mac. And there's an actual disc in the drive there, which is kind of funny because he didn't take it out, probably got stuck. There's my business card from Advanced Computer Systems. And so I'm at this event with Woz and Jobs. And if you notice that badge he's wearing right there, there's my badge right there as a dealer, Advanced Computer Systems. And this was the first time that Jobs used sort of numerical marketing to show the momentum in the market. He said that it took 2.5 years for Apple to sell 50,000 Apple IIs. 2.5 years. But it took IBM PC 7.5 months, and of course, The Mac, 74 days. That started that progression, that scale that he would use in every presentation going forward. And he also had to justify to the board of directors all this money that was being spent on marketing, of course. And so here's a picture at the Apple IIc conference. The Mac had been introduced in January. The Apple IIc is introduced in April 24th, 1984. This event with this t-shirt right here. And I am in the audience right up over there. It's a little hard to, I can't point it out, but I'm straight up there. But I'm from the dealership, and I got to meet Jobs, Scully, and Woz right there. And I had already started the Mac company, and Jobs sat me down at this table, and he said, "Hey, I want to talk to you. You're developing educational software for the Mac. We're at an Apple II event called Apple II Forever." That was the mainstay. That was the money for Apple in education. And I'm starting, so I'm doing something kind of not expected, because educational software on the Mac was not what everyone wanted. This is a business computer. It's a productivity computer, not an educational computer. And so, but he knew that. He was such in love with the computer and the Mac that he said, "Hey, I want you to be patient. I want you to sit down." Patience coming from Steve Jobs to me as a 20-year-old kid telling me, and he said, "The Mac is going to become the #1 computer in education. You wait." And then he signed a t-shirt to me, "Let's go change the world together." Right here. That's how big the event was. It was quite something. And in this event, and I'm in the audience, they did surprise, called surprise marketing. Jobs said they introduced the Apple IIc, did all this slideware, and then he placed Apple employees in the audience, and they all had an Apple IIc, and they raised them up from under their seat. It was wild. And that's me with the yellow t-shirt. Look at that card. I'm going to go real fast because I've burned so much time. You saw our logo. That's our literature. We were totally inspired by the Picasso Mac design, so we did a lot of that for Think. It was really something. Here's one of the early Mac fairs. I'm showing our software. On the right on the screen there is Trivial Intrigue. There was a big board game called Trivial Pursuit. We did a board game version called Trivial Intrigue with 1,000 trivia questions and 4 other games on one disk, 400 kilobyte disk. There's the original Mac team. There's Jobs showing they had a deal with, they created the Apple Consortium, 24 universities with Macs. We had a deal with Berkeley to sell educational software. I got to demonstrate on the Big Mac, which was kind of neat. There's my Lisa. And here I am demonstrating our software. There's my original Apple credit card. Apple introduced a credit card. I was like, that's from 30 years ago. What are you talking about? It's not a new invention. That's what Jobs wrote. It's a little dark, but it says, "Let's go change the world." It's much clearer than that, but that's taken with no light.
I hate to interrupt, Mr. Berkin, but we've got exactly 1 minute left.
Sorry about that. Thank you.
No worries.
Thanks.
A big hand. Thank you.